I did a brief introduction to the rhetorical situation. I hope you can see that you encounter rhetorical situations all the time and how this theory might be applicable to you. What I want to do here is have a closer look at his language so that when you turn to his text, you'll have a better insight, you'll be better able to take it apart and see how it works. So this will be the theory, the first introduction to Bitzer's theory itself. Bitzer talks about the rhetorical situation very specifically. Not all situations are rhetorical. Only a very, very special situations become rhetorical. For example, this is how he approaches it. It is the situation which calls the discourse into existence. It seems clear that rhetoric is situational. A particular discourse comes into existence because of some specific condition or situation which invites utterance. So, you think about it. Think about my previous examples. You're hungry. You're hungry and you're late and you run out of the house without eating and your caffeine level is low and you run into a coffee shop and say, I need a coffee. I want a coffee. That's a rhetorical situation. There's a situation that invites utterance. You need to say something. The situation is calling for discourse. I did a quick definition of rhetoric, but I think this is what he's saying. A work of rhetoric is pragmatic. Pragmatic actually comes from the ancient Greek word praso, to do. It's the verb to do something. A pragmata is something which is done. Pragmatic, the adjective. Something is done. It comes into existence for the sake of something beyond itself. If you hit your thumb with a hammer and you blurt out a curse, it's not rhetorical. You're just saying it's for the sake of itself. It's not rhetorical. It's not pragmatic. A work's pragmatic. It comes into existence for the sake of something beyond itself. It functions ultimately to produce an action or a change in the world. This is critical. You're trying to make a change in the world. It performs some task. In short, this is a very important quote, and I love it. It's philosophical. Rhetoric is a mode of altering reality, not by the direct application of energy to objects, but by the creation of discourse, which changes reality through the mediation of thought and action. You're not just picking up a hammer and driving a nail into a piece of wood and say, that's rhetorical. No, it's not. You're creating discourse which changes reality through the mediation of thought and action. If I explain to you that I need 2 pieces of wood nailed together in a certain way, and you pick up a hammer and you nail it, I've altered reality not by applying direct energy to objects myself. I had you do it. So it was mediation of thought and action. Discourse was entered into, and reality was changed. The rhetor alters reality by bringing into existence a discourse of such a character that the audience in thought and action is so engaged that it becomes the mediator of change. Key here, and I'll come back to repeat this in other forms, the rhetor doesn't alter reality, the audience alters reality. But the rhetor makes the audience alter reality by changing their thoughts. Does that through discourse. The rhetor alters reality by bringing into a discourse of such a character that the audience is engaged to become the mediator of change. So underscore this. The speaker doesn't affect the reality. The speaker creates a discourse, a communication, and that communication inspires the audience to change the world. So, yes, in this sense, rhetoric is always persuasive. Keep that in mind. We're doing persuasive communication. So, how does he put this into a situation? Not all situations are rhetorical. A complex of persons, events, objects, and relations, i.e. the entire world, comes about presenting an actual or potential exigence. Which can be, now the term exigence is a key term, and I'll come back and do a whole talk on the concept of exigence. So just keep that flag there. If you want a placeholder for your brain, it will be a bad one, but you can use a problem. It's something that needs to be changed. But anyway, a complex of persons, events, objects, and relations presenting an actual or potential exigence, which can be completely or partially removed if discourse introduced into the situation can so constrain human decision or action as to bring about the significant modification of the exigence. So, put that all together. People and events and objects all come together, and someone sees, this has to change. If I say something, I can change the world. I can make other humans do something and modify that exigence. Modify the exigence. Change the exigence. Make it better. Make it less worse. If it's bad, make it better. Whatever. I can modify that exigence. So, really, at this point, we need to delve in to the three constituent elements of the rhetorical situation. There's the exigence, and I need to talk specifically about exigence. There will be the audience. I'll talk about the audience. And finally, constraints. Those three elements will help you plan documents and presentations. And you can use them. You can even use them in a job package. Aristotle is primary, first in mind of. But, you see a job. Well, who's the audience? Yeah, what are the constraints? What's the exigence? What are you responding to? Anyway, we'll talk about that in relation to the job package and in other cases. But I will come back in my next video and talk about exigence, audience, and constraints.